The filmmakers encourage you to support Project Teal, a national eating disorder nonprofit organization providing cash assistance, free treatment referrals, free clinical assessments, and free insurance navigation to anyone who needs care for an eating disorder. With a focus on equity, Project Teal ensures that people from marginalized communities, including LGBTQ plus folks, BIPOC, and low-income individuals, are able to get the help they need. The following contains discussions of mental health and mental illness that may be sensitive for viewers. If you or someone you know is in need of support, please visit findahelpline.com/I/Bake It LLC.
Sueñito.
Food heals. Food connects. Food is community. Food is culture. And food starts conversation. Food is the way in which I've chosen to talk about my mental health in hopes of allowing others to talk about theirs too. But food hasn't always been easy. It's been a symbol of shame. It's created division in my family. Food will always be part of the fight for my life, but it's also what saved me. My name is Dayna Altman. I'm the creator of Bake It Till You Make It, and this is my story. I think my story really begins where most people's do, and that is the environment in which I grew up in. I am from a small suburban town in Massachusetts called Southborough. And when I go around and tell people that I'm from Southborough, honestly, sometimes I lie and tell them I'm from a surrounding town, Framingham, because Southborough is such a small town. No one really has ever heard it before. And growing up in Southborough came with an immense amount of privilege, a very affluent town with a lot of resources. Growing up in a big neighborhood with kids my age and going to school with teachers who had resources, who really cared about their students with like every extracurricular activity you could imagine. Going to Washington, D.C. as an 8th grader, going to Europe in high school for some people had that opportunity. There was really so many, everything felt at my fingertips.
One of the things that I remember that kind of makes Dayna, I guess every parent thinks their child is unique, but I remember when I went to pick her up from nursery school once, and she was, I think, maybe 4. And her teacher said, your daughter is like the only daughter that I feel like I want to hang out with on the weekends. And this is a 25-year-old woman that was saying that. She's the only one that actually asked me how my weekend was and how my day was. And it just got me to thinking, like, Dayna could hold a phone conversation at, like, I don't know. I don't know how young, but just her interpersonal skills and the way she talked to people and the way she cared about people. And I just think from the very beginning has been very unique. Even now, it's like she will always be one to, after talking about herself, always ask how your day was and always really be genuinely interested in it. And so those early years as a father, you couldn't have asked for anything more. She was awesome.
Dayna was always very creative, always performing, very organized. When I used to throw her these big parties when she was little, and she would sit down 3 months before the party, she'd sit down with a legal pad and she'd start writing out the guest list and all the activities that we're going to do. And she started doing this when she was 3 or 4. And she was always, she was happy and focused, and she was very hard on herself, so which was hard to see. And I didn't really recognize that it was a mental health issue. I thought she was just, a normal child and the typical stresses that adolescents go through. So she was emotional, still is emotional, sensitive, creative.
It was great. We had so much fun together. I remember growing up putting on tons of shows for our neighbors, making up dances, making up full on plays. We would spar like here and there, like every sibling does, but overall, just like so much fun. My sister was always entrepreneurial from the time she was like 7 years old, wanting to put on plays for the local library and always just kind of coming up with new business ideas. So she's always been like this, but we had just a lot of fun together, both very like theatrical in spirit. So always wanting to entertain.
I'm homesick for a place that doesn't exist. A crisp air at my back as I open the door to a house full of warmth, a place filled with so much kindness. It's like I understand the word gentle in a way I never thought was possible. I have many homes. I guess that makes me lucky. Homes with lavish rooms and big garage doors. Homes with views so vast it's as if I'm on top of the world. If money could buy the place I'm longing for, I would already have it. That's the thing. This cannot be bought or sold. There's only one and it belongs to me. It's the house in which my soul lives, but I don't feel at home there. The damage I've done to a place that just wants to keep me safe makes it hard to feel at home in what binds my body. I have a home. I'm homesick for a feeling. Tolerance, trust, acceptance. I don't think I knew what was going on with me. I think there was always this part of me that never felt enough, never felt good enough, never felt lovable enough, never felt thin enough, beautiful enough. And I thought that was normal. It wasn't really something that I talked about because I felt like everyone felt that way. And growing up in a family that was really focused on appearance and food and health and movement, I always felt a lot of pressure to be thin enough or beautiful enough. And growing up in this environment, I think not only just my family, but also in Southborough, this idea of looking a certain way, really, I felt a lot of pressure. And I really focused on academics. I was so being in school was so important to me. Doing well in school was so important to me. And I can remember like crying over spelling tests and just being so anxious about the SATs when I was in middle school. Things that I look back at now and just like smile and think, how was that even possible? How could I have felt that way? But that was my reality. I also loved musical theater more than anything, acting, singing, dancing. But here I never really felt enough either. That good enough feeling really only came when I got like a main role or part in a show. And when I didn't have that, I felt completely destroyed and I felt like I didn't have any worth.
You know, she had some anxiety signs looking back, like when she used to go away to summer camp. She would make this enormous list of all the fears and concerns that she would have, and just a ton of anxiety. But then she would always have a great time at camp and then come home thinking, you know, how much she missed it and loved it. So we kind of, I think we thought, well, I guess that's just kind of normal, that, you know, as far as her anxiety level goes. Certainly in college, that's when things really changed. First time away from home, and that was when, so we weren't with her when things really started to get challenging. Of course, we were talking to her all the time, but and to her credit, I mean, she was very open about it and very much wanting to seek out, you know, help.
I really did not recognize it at all while she was growing up and in high school. When she went to college, that's the first time she went to see a therapist on campus because she was having a hard time when she got to college. And the therapist would call me and say, Dayna really needs help. And Dayna would call me and say, I think I need to go to this eating disorder place. And I thought, no, I mean, this is just normal. This is just transition to college and you don't have a eating disorder. So I was in denial. And then I realized she needed help by the end of her freshman year of college, or the middle of her freshman year of college, when she was just not doing well.
Yeah, it was really hard. I was around 14, 15. So while I was kind of dealing with all of the other like trials and tribulations of high school, seeing my sister go through this, and then also seeing the impact that it had on my parents was just really tough. And I didn't understand at all. Like, there wasn't a dialogue about mental health the way that there is now. So I always just didn't understand why she couldn't just eat or like just get better, just like be happy, which is so silly and not the case at all. I remember my dad telling me, like, you can't think of this as that simple. Like, you have to think about it from a medical perspective. Like, you would never tell her to just get better if she had cancer. So you have to think about it in the same way. Like, your sister needs treatment the same way a broken leg would need treatment. That really opened my eyes and kind of helped me understand that it wasn't as simple as just eating or just like smiling or just kind of getting over it, which was super helpful for me. And, I struggled with my own, anxiety too. And my sister was always so open about how she felt and vulnerable. And that really helped me understand that what I was going through also, didn't need to happen. Like, I could also get help and get treatment for that. And for that, I'm super thankful.
And think about now, which is interesting. But at the time, it just kind of felt like this is just who I am. I'm a person with really big feelings, and that was never celebrated. It was always kind of asked to be toned down, doing too much, being too loud, all of the above. And I really struggled in both of those areas. And I also really struggled with an eating disorder and food. And my mom has really struggled herself. And I think that I've always wanted to connect with her in a way that has felt close. We have a very close relationship. And for a long time, connecting over dieting was something that we had in common, and I didn't want to give that up because I really wanted like her love more than anything. So I think that was really difficult for me to even believe or think that I could live without an eating disorder. But I didn't even have language for this. I didn't even recognize that this was what I was dealing with or what I was living with really until I got to college. I had some small kind of inklings that I was struggling with my mental health in high school. I was really stressed about going to college. I really wanted to go to Boston University or BU because growing up in the suburbs, like everyone wanted to get to the city, it felt like, for college. And I felt like that was the ultimate test of my enoughness. Like, if I was enough, then I would just get into a college that I liked or that people thought was impressive. But I couldn't actually just like call up the admissions office. I had to apply like everyone else. And that gave me so much anxiety and panic and fear. So I ended up doing this really weird ritual where I would sharpen 10 pencils every single night before I went to sleep. And I feel like that felt safe to me. That felt like I was prepared. That felt like I could get into the college I wanted because I was being so resourceful. But as you can imagine, that actually had nothing to do with getting into college. And unfortunately, I didn't get into BU. And Providence College in Rhode Island became the only school that really made sense for me. And I remember when I was getting ready to go to Providence College, I felt really scared and I was didn't know what to expect. But I didn't recognize that my mental health was going to be the most important thing that came out of my college experience, because when I got to Providence College, my first ever class of college as a freshman, I had my first ever panic attack. That first ever panic attack led me into the world of therapy and medication. Before I knew it, I was diagnosed with depression and an eating disorder, as well as anxiety that I would later learn was OCD. Those were really dark times, but it also brought the beautiful project.
Yeah, so my sister and I both really loved making string bracelets. What started out like as a hobby that we did at summer camp just turned into a full year-round activity. Something that I think we both really liked about it was just the simplicity of following a pattern and be able to kind of turn off your brain, go into a flow state, really not be able to think about anything else but just focusing on the pattern. So that became really helpful when my sister was in different treatments, kind of a way to take her mind off things and just do something together. So around that time when my sister was in treatment and we were really into making bracelets, we got a lot of positive comments about them, just like loving the patterns, wanting to maybe purchase something. So we thought it was a really great idea to kind of turn this into another entrepreneurial venture. So what started out as making bracelets and selling them and donating the proceeds to the National Eating Disorders Association really turned into a bigger kind of project focused on just like loving yourself and body acceptance and body positivity. So we would also make videos every month, kind of enlist our friends to talk about different topics, whether that be mental health, anxiety, depression, and then put out these videos to really inspire people and kind of get the conversation started about mental health.
I left school in late January, right before midterms. My parents thought maybe removing the burden of school would remove the depression. It didn't work. In February, I got a job at the mall selling beauty products at a kiosk, as if marketing something to help the exterior would heal my internal pain. In March, I put on my point shoes, believing the bleeding of my toes would mask the pain in my heart and still hurt. I laid on the couch for hours, convinced that the combination of Disney Channel and my pink onesie would relieve my will to die. I was only 19. Each time I thought I hit rock bottom, I fell another 1,000 feet, wondering how many more times it would take before the ground would open up beneath me and swallow me whole. But there must have been a will to live because I'm still here. My ground opened up beneath me, but with the dirt on my hands, I patched the soil together to arrive on broken ground.
I was definitely stressed out. I feel like I was trying to kind of like bury it and not think about it. But it was definitely like a stressful experience, kind of not totally understanding what was going on, and just kind of my sister like in and out of different treatments and hospitals. And because there wasn't really like an active dialogue, I don't think like anybody talked about going to therapy in high school. And if they did, they probably like it would have been weird. So I didn't necessarily talk about it with a lot of my friends. I definitely wish I did because it would have been really positive to kind of have people to talk to that weren't so like ingrained in the situation.
Advice I would give to couples in a similar situation is to go to see a therapist together, because I think that really helped us when Dana was going through her darkest times, because we were afraid to leave her alone. um it was a very challenging, stressful time for all of us. And advice that I would give to us back then maybe is to um, be, just stay hopeful and be patient.
I would add to that, don't forget the sisters and brothers of the child in need, because
Yeah.
that's really hard to it's hard to equate the needs of a daughter that might be doing okay with a daughter that needs so much attention. And so the okay daughter ends up really feeling left out of the mix.
Yeah.
If I had to go back, I would pay much more attention to how we interacted with her.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I would definitely tell them that they should also go to therapy and also talk about it because it does, have an impact on you. And you're also, important as your family member that's struggling. And you should also feel like you're able to kind of talk through these things and get help as well.
maybe we could have asked her if she wanted to see someone, if she wanted to see a therapist, if she wanted to talk to someone, and yeah, more focus on how she was doing, because it was all about Dayna, but that's because Dayna was in crisis.
Dayna was in crisis, and Jamie was doing okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that she didn't have a lot of issues underneath the surface that, we had the time to address. We didn't address it. So that's a huge regret. So that would be my big key advice is, it's kind of like when our second daughter was born, everyone said, make sure that your older daughter gets a toy or a doll. Don't ignore her. Keep her in the mix, even though all the attention is going to go on Jamie. And we did a good job of that.
Right.
But when Dayna was in crisis, and just recognizing what the sibling is going through is really significant, very important.
Unfortunately, I don't think that my sister and I have had many open conversations about our family dynamics and mental health. I think that really only comes up, unfortunately, when things are bad or like we're really worried about our mom. I do remember that my sister read me a personal essay that she wrote about the effects of not only my eating disorder, but the way my mom and I interacted with our eating disorders and how enmeshed they were and what that was like for her. And I can remember her reading it, and I got very emotional, feeling really guilty, and she kind of had me hang on and feel those feelings. So is keep those feelings honest, but let her finish, because it meant a lot to her for me to hear her perspective. And I think that as I continue to own my own feelings around the topic and our past and history, I'm hoping that we're able to talk more about that time, because it was very painful.
You assume I hate my body, and sometimes you're not wrong. But the words that leave your lips cut deeper than you can imagine. You throw salt in the invisible wounds that lie beneath what you can see. The wounds sustained in the war against my body. The ones from the dressing room. The ones in the car. The ones in the mirror. My body is not your validator or means of conversation. I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say about the house I live in, because I never gave consent to be involved in the competition you've created. I don't want to be at war anymore with you, but more than that, with my body. I surrender.
Dayna's former therapist was willing to share her insights on Dayna's recovery.
Hi, Dayna.
It's so good to see you.
You too.
Thank you so much.
So Dayna came to me the summer after her freshman year at Providence College, referral from a friend. I always want kids to come and meet me to make sure that I'm the right person for them. I love all kids, and usually they're the right person for me. But they need to have a little power, given the fact that when you're struggling with some of the things that you're struggling with, anxiety and depression and eating disorder, you feel really powerless.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing that you get to do, is decide this is or isn't the person that I want to see. And I always make that clear to parents.
I ended up meeting a mentor during my second semester of my freshman year who really encouraged me to seek treatment for my eating disorder. I didn't realize that there was more than just going to therapy once a week, and I could go to Eating Disorder Treatment Center. I remember it was on Hope Avenue, and that just felt like the ultimate kind of the ultimate symbol that this was going to change my life. But unfortunately, I left feeling really damaged because I left feeling worse. And I thought that just going there and showing up was going to be enough for me to feel okay and feel proud of myself and get better and just leave my mental health journey behind me. But instead, I left with some really intense suicidal ideations and thoughts, and ended up going to a different hospital, McLean Hospital, which happens to be one of if not one of, or if not the best psychiatric hospital, and it happens to be in my home state of Massachusetts. And I ended up on this unit that was for adolescents who were struggling with depression and suicidal ideation and thoughts. I can remember just really finding my voice there, feeling like I was heard, that I was getting support, that I was being put on the right medication. I think medication for me was something that was really scary because I didn't want to believe that I needed it to function. But now that I've been on it for so many years, I recognize that it's just a tool, and why would I deprive myself of that? If that's something that helps me function, it helps me be in my life and in the world, then I'm okay with that. And leaving that experience and going back to college, I truly felt like I was just in a different place. Like I was leaving my mental health journey behind, but that really only lasted a semester. And I ended up back in the hospital over the holiday break, which was incredibly challenging and scary. I remember my second semester of my sophomore year being some kind of like a blur. It feels like yesterday and a million years ago at the same time. And I can remember that I just felt so hopeless. I didn't know how I was going to move forward in my life. I failed a test in my Western civilization class and felt like I didn't deserve to live anymore, and went into my nearest bathroom, which happened to be in the dining hall, in search of ways to end my life. And I had the thought, like, I know I don't want to feel this way anymore, but I also know I don't want to die in this bathroom. And I was able to call my mom. She picked me up and I took a medical leave. And being on medical leave was so hard. It was the ultimate, I'm not doing enough, I'm not being enough, seeing my friends on Facebook at parties and involved in their lives in a way that I was kind of expected I would. I always thought I was going to be someone who followed the crowd, and having to be on medical leave for 3 months with just this relentless will to not live anymore was really challenging. I did get off the wait list at another program for women called the Hill Center, and that was really life-changing for me. Not only did I learn skills and tools, but I also met my therapist that I've been seeing for over the last decade. And it was also, I think I was ready to get help. I think I was ready to recognize that this is something that I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's like like a life sentence. It can actually mean that I can help people and that I can be the person that I want to be, just in a different way. So that was really powerful too.
We're at McLean Hospital, which has been such a big part of my story, such a healing part of my story. I was at East House when I was 18, which is a residential program, or at least for me, I was living there for 4 weeks, and I was 18 at the time. And so I had that experience, and I remember being able to do different like homework assignments, learn different skills. And I think the experience not only was so helpful in my own healing, but it also helped me realize that I wanted to work here someday. And I'm so proud to say that I have. And I did when I left college, and I was able to have that experience. But East House was not the first and last for me. I also came back here in an inpatient capacity just 6 months later, really struggling with suicidal thoughts and not knowing how to move forward. And then when I took a medical leave after that experience from college, after a close suicide attempt, I ended up at the Hill Center a couple months later, which I always feel was kind of like my turning point, not only because I was ready for that and I was able to really work on my own mental health journey, kind of own it in new ways and learn different DBT skills. But it's also where I met my therapist, and she was my case manager at the Hill Center. So she kind of overlooked everything that was going on with me at the hospital. And she really She helped me in so many ways, but I think the biggest way was that she didn't give me the answers, and I really wanted her to give me the answers, but instead she really empowered me to know that I could kind of do that on my own and figure out that I kind of had the power all along, which was really powerful. She also became a very maternal figure to me over the years, and I've seen her grow up in a lot of ways, having worked with her now for almost 11 years. And that has been so special to me. And I've heard before that the therapist client relationship is almost a better indicator, if that's positive, is a better indicator of treatment and of support in one's healing journey than anything else. And I think we certainly have that together as well. So the health center is really the place I feel like I got my life back, and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to be here. And coming back today is really an amazing reminder of how far I've come.
Dayna really started to live with more joy and freedom when she began to learn that it's okay to have needs, it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to ask for help. I think these are the kinds of skills so many of us struggle with, and really leaning into the idea that it is okay to be a human being who has needs and needs others can be transformative. And I think it has been for Dayna.
Creativity for my mental health, I think, has been at the source of so much of my recovery. I think for a long time, my mental health and my struggles, I would say in particular with an eating disorder, was very rigid. I feel like eating disorders are very competitive. They just want you to be the best, the most thin, the most perfect, the most beautiful. And I think that in addition to struggling with that through the eating lens, I also think that there was a lot of, in my own recovery as a perfectionist, there was a lot of difficulty in finding myself again, because for a long time I only thought of myself as who I was with my eating disorder. So I think through my recovery and really embarking on my true mental health journey of healing and recovery, creativity has just been at the center of so many of my real true healing moments. I think whether it's been creating a project or creating art, showing myself I could try new things, it's been very powerful because I'm able to see myself beyond what I thought I could only be.
On May 18th, 2022, Dayna, along with 29 other mental health advocates, was recognized for the impact of her work by the Biden administration and MTV at the White House.
Now I want to go to Dayna next. Where's Dayna? There she is. There you are, Dayna. Dayna, you have one of my favorite stories. You came up with such a unique way to support people with their mental health. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, wow, hi. I am the creator of an organization called Bake It Till You Make It, which is a community-based organization that uses food and baking to talk about mental health. I mean, if we think back, like as humans, we've been using food as a mechanism to tell stories since the beginning of time. So to me, applying the mental health lens just made so much sense. And another big piece of the organization is using authenticity as a way to talk about mental health. For a really long time, I felt like I didn't have any value in the world if I wasn't like bubbly and smiling, like there, and realized that tapping into who I really am, my story, it's almost like a responsibility to be that role model. And that has helped me so much in the organization and in my own healing.
I have been in love with the name Bake It Till You Make It for a long time. You know, one of my favorite moments was watching Dayna at the White House when the Surgeon General recognized that it was, you know, he kind of paused for a minute and said, "That's a great name." Um, and I think it speaks to, you know, to Dayna's creativity and her ability to combine things that reach people, something, you know, people are tend to be more comfortable with, which is baking, and something people often struggle to be comfortable with, which is talking about mental health. So, you know, I'm really proud of all that Bake It Till You Make It is and is becoming. And I hope it really becomes just a bigger and bigger part of our conversation on mental health, um, and allows us to have more conversations about the living experience of our mental health journeys.
I remember when Dana first ran Bake It Till You Make It by me, and as a baking enthusiast, I thought it was this really spectacular idea and really unusual. And um, we often hash out uh, different ideas that Dana has, and really creative and really interesting and incredibly relatable on so many fronts. And like anything, you're always a little protective of that person, like, oh, what if this happens or that happens? But Dana, in absolute true Dana style, just ran with it and made it happen, larger than life. And I support it. I think food is love and comfort. And when you have an eating disorder, it can really, food can become really immensely complicated when you're restricting, and so it gets connected to other things, sometimes negative things. And so I thought it was just brilliant to sort of bring it back to this sense of love and comfort for people.
My involvement, I've seen Dana since the beginning of this process, actually. So it was actually back in 2017. Both her and I were just kind of looking for ways to just like connect with the people around us. And there was one day that Dana had like invited me over to just like hang out and just be with good company. And I ended up bringing over my camera. We did like a cute little photo shoot. I think I was probably like grandfathered into just taking those photos throughout the process. You'd probably be able to see like the progression of like the first photo shoot we ever did for Bake It Till You Make It to now. And there's just been so much growth. So it's been wonderful to watch through the lens and as one of Dana's closest friends.
I've always been an entrepreneur from as early as I can remember. When I was 8, I created a show at my local library. It was right after 9/11 had happened, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to support my country as an 8-year-old. I wanted to give back, and so I did so the way I knew how. I put a show together. We collected funds to support veterans and crisis funds. We created I created opportunities for my friends to be involved in the show. I would organize with their parents, and that's something I'm so proud of. But even before that, I was performing in my basement. Anyone would come over, they would see me sing and dance. And I think that something that I'm really proud of is that I've seen that evolve, because theater used to be my thing. Being able to create shows, or the Not So Off Broadway Players, which was my like little performing arts theater troupe. We went to senior centers when I was in middle school and high school. And that's evolved, because now it's not necessarily theater, it's mental health, it's baking, it's writing, it's art, it's new things. I've continued to ignite the flame inside of me that has allowed me to be an entrepreneur, that's allowed me to tell my story, that's allowed me to help people. And I'm really grateful for that. And I will always be really proud of that, for sure.
So today we are at the Nailed It event, and Nailed It is a pretty annual event for the Bake It Till You Make It community. People come together and participate in this decorating competition that's inspired by the Netflix show, and it's also an afternoon to talk about mental health. We'll hear some stories today, talk about the importance of mental health, and our judges are mental health advocates and bakers, and those who place in the top 3 have different mental health kind of prizes. And I love this event because it's an opportunity to connect with so many of my friends from different avenues of my life, but also include so many new people to the Bake It Till You Make It community as well.
We're looking for things that really like stand out from the other teams, you know, whether it's their presentation, how they creatively use something. So I'm having trouble with the number scale because it feels hard. But yeah, we're kind of, I actually like it. It's good we can discuss it as a team.
I agree. Yes. And if they get creative or do something unexpected, yes, we love that.
So it doesn't have to be like totally true to the picture.
No, I mean,
not necessarily.
That's, yeah.
But if they did it so true to the picture that that's what then
yes, right,
yeah.
right.
So I guess we're making it up as
I had reached out to her after I heard her on a podcast, and she had put it out there. I had listened to it because we were coworkers, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much we had in common, and she just felt like such a safe space to go to talk about mental health. And so that's really where our friendship started. And so ever since, I've been on the Bake It Till You Make It bandwagon. So I try my best to come to these events. This is the second time I've been to Nailed It, and it's awesome. It's just a great community to be a part of.
I love to come and support Dayna's various Bake It Till You Make It projects and events. I always have so much fun at them, and they're always nice and relaxing and rejuvenating after a long week, so I was very excited to come to this one. My favorite part was really getting my hands dirty, figuring out resourceful problem-solving tactics, and eating all of the cupcakes after I finished the rounds.
Well, I've been following Bake It for a couple of years now. Dayna is a close friend, and I really believe she has authenticity in her mission, and this event is one of those examples of getting together, being in community, and talking about mental health.
And I was a stand-in for Laura's old teammate who got sick, so I came today, but I had a great time today. It's my first time at Nailed It. It's been a great event. I love cupcakes and decorating, and I've heard a lot about Dayna through Laura, so it's great to finally meet in person.
I'm not the most artistic, but we had a blast doing it and working as a team and having fun.
Agreed.
When I was first introduced to Bake It Till You Make It, it started out as Dayna doing virtual presentations. We would bake with her. She would tell us more about her mental health journey. And then at the end, we would just have conversations about our own mental health with Dayna. Now I see that turning into a cookbook, a poetry book, and she speaks across the country to different people about her journey and how baking has influenced that for her.
I think seeing Bake It Till You Make It evolve is really a unique thing that I've seen, because with mental health, you hear a lot of people talk about tackling mental health and just like fighting against it, and not a lot of people stand up to like the stick behind that and like tackling that. And Dayna does. She puts her best foot forward, and she does she stands for what she believes in, and like the process with Bake It Till You Make It proves that, like with her documentary that's happening right now, and when she went to the White House, and her little events that she has, and just seeing all of that evolve and like become greater, it's really beautiful to see.
I remember hearing Dayna like mention it occasionally when we used to like work together, and then it just kind of grew like naturally into like conversations more and more, and it became so much bigger in Dayna's life, and I was so happy that it did, because it was exactly watching someone's passion come to life, and I think that that's a really special thing to watch, because it's a special thing to experience for yourself, but like to watch it just feels, especially when like you're so close with this person, it feels so good that like when they're happy, you're happy too. And I just remember it going from like a side thing that made Dayna happy to now it's like a really big focus in her life, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, Dayna's such a big project person. She's always trying to like change the world and create an impact anywhere that she steps into. So when I was working with her, she would always like mention the idea and like talk about like why she was so passionate about it. So seeing it come to life is something really surreal. She's such a cool person. Like just seeing how much work and love she's put into her work is really amazing and inspirational as a person.
So Bake It Till You Make It, Breaking Bread, Building Resilience was the first cookbook, what started all of Bake It Till You Make It LLC. The biggest thing I learned with Bake It Till You Make It was that self-publishing was an option, that these stories, this story of the whole organization and what I was working toward, I wasn't going to let anything stop me. I wasn't going to let not having an agent or a publisher stop me. And I recognized that I could do it. My favorite part of this book is probably that it has the most stories of any book. So it has over 40 people sharing their stories. And the thing that I learned was how to market it. So where to bring it and how to get people interested.
My main involvement with Bake It Till You Make It is the design language, the look and feel of Bake It Till You Make It. So everything you see visually at the exhibits, the book covers, the inside illustrations, the design of the text and everything, that's kind of my purview.
So this book, Mix Melt Mend, Owning My Story and Finding My Freedom, was my pre-30-year-old memoir. I started it during the very beginning of the pandemic as I wanted to put to paper everything that I had been through and my whole story. The hardest part about this book was logistically being during the pandemic, getting the photos, getting it edited was really difficult. The thing that I learned through this book was the idea that I could put some workbook pages inside so I could really let it be a tool that they were able to think about and really kind of go deeper. A unifying blend, a compilation of recipes and stories to celebrate all that makes us human, is the third book in the Bake It Till You Make It series, but the second edition mental health cookbook. So this book includes stories and recipes from many different individuals who want to share their resilience and their own journeys. The best thing about this book is that I dedicated it to the Wolf family. And the Wolf family, I was very serendipitously connected to through a mental health organization. They lost their daughter to suicide, Abby Wolf, in 2020. And Abby loved to bake. And although I never met Abby, hearing what she was like, I feel like we're very similar. And getting to know that family and dedicating the book to them has meant so much to me, more than I can adequately say. And the work that they do with Abby's Bakery, inspiring remembrance of her legacy, is really beautiful. I think that this book really showed me the importance of redefining the mission of the book, because when it started, I thought that it was actually going to be just stories for teens and young people, but I recognized that there were ways to talk about celebrating stories with older people as well. The safety of my family weighs heavily on my shoulders. An unfathomable load overwhelms my muscles. I shake as I mutter, "It's completely up to me." Or that's what my OCD tells me. 3 clicks of my car lock button or 2 turns to the right on the door, I've taught myself it's the way that I think about harm that will predict the future. I scan for patterns as I pull the first layer of skin off my lips. If only I could peel back and unpack these disordered thoughts. When I see it on paper or hear it out loud, it sounds like some sort of God complex. If only it was as complex as a sense of entitlement. I feel entitled to nothing but fear. That every thought must be free of words that could indicate danger. This magical thinking has stripped me of my confidence. I can't trust anyone, especially myself. My therapist says these thoughts are just trying to protect me, but it's hard to imagine the uncertainty that accompanies the sense of overwhelm has done anything but hurt me. I need control. I can't live in the unknown. It feels impossible to quiet the stream of solutions that flood my brain. I'd like to believe in this magic.
And seeing her posts on, of course, like her accomplishments and the wonderful things that she's doing in the events that she's creating and hosting, but also, just on those really tough days, she still, she still rolls up those sleeves and says, "Hey, like I'm still here, but I'm not feeling as good as I was yesterday, or as good as I might feel tomorrow, and that's okay. I'm still here. I'm still Dayna, and this is still what I stand by." And I think that has such a powerful effect that I'm not sure that Dayna realizes. It can feel really, really isolating to feel the way that, she might feel on some of those posts, and the fact that she continues to show up as authentically as she does and transparently as she does, because I know how scary that can be. I think that if anything has had like the most profound effect, because that's what mental health is. That's what being a human is being able to show up when you're still not feeling your best, and knowing and trusting the process, and that your people are still going to be there for you at the end of the day. So I know that for me, that has, I mean, the work that Dayna does every single day doesn't go unnoticed. And I know that as she continues with this process, that she will continue to, my hope is to reach more and more people, because if it's had a profound effect on me, I know that it's working its magic on everybody else. And I'm really proud of her for that.
It's a reminder to keep going, and that things won't necessarily always be going up, up, up in healing. It's not linear like a lot of people say. It's inspiring. Yeah, it's just a big reminder for me to be like, okay, this is life, but I can still keep going and do the things that I want to do, regardless of the bumps.
Bake It Till You Make It is just able to, be part of the overall mental health conversation, and just help people see that, for Dayna, she found baking as an outlet for expressing her emotions and dealing with a hard time. But I think hopefully it can show everyone else that it's okay to have mental health issues and feel less isolated, because they're not alone.
Watch Me Rise, Recipes for Bread, Poems for Growth is the fourth and final, so far, book of the Bake It Till You Make It series. My favorite thing about this book is that it was illustrated by so many important people to me, most notably some of the people that I mentor. Being able to create this collaborative project in this way meant the world. I learned the ways in which different people can connect with poetry, and have had the opportunity to work with different middle schools and high schools, and using this book as a launching pad for students to create their own poetry. And the hardest thing about this book was it was a new level of vulnerability. I think especially in my own struggles with believing my poetry was good enough. The struggle here was really believing in myself and pushing myself to put out the book in the first place.
I'm not the best drawer in the world. I'm not the most creative, but I do like making it sometimes, because it's a coping way to kind of exist and just express whatever I'm feeling. So when she was looking for people to contribute to her book and she asked me to do it, I felt really honored. And to be able to actually make something and produce it out into the world, I don't know, just seeing it on the page, it feels really cool to have, because I did make it, and I don't know, it's a really special thing to have.
So this is the picture. It's titled Reaching for Calm, and it's for her poem Anxiety. I was inspired by the poem, and for me, I got from that, even when good things are happening around you, sometimes that can be overwhelming, and other people see that as good, but that can still be anxiety-inducing for you. So all the colors, those are supposed to be the good things, and then this is Dayna or somebody reaching into themselves to try to find that peace.
I'm not the best drawer either. Honestly, I will draw something a bunch of times and then just scrap it, because I'm this is not okay. But having something that you've made into published into the world, I feel that's really special, because people don't get that chance a lot, and when you do, it's just such a nice feeling. And the art that I've made in Dayna's poetry book, poetry book. I really like this one because it kind of talks about childhood and kind of holding on to things, and I feel that's something close to me. For me, I have a hard time getting rid of a lot of things, so they kind of just stay in my closet or in my drawer, and knowing that on the here it's little teddy bears, and I feel I have so many teddy bears stuck in my closet, and when I look at them, I always remember Dayna, because I have a piece of that in her book, and I think that shows how special things like this can be. And then my other one is this one, and this one talks about how just I think it's like I overthink a lot, and I definitely overthought like just the drawings in her book and like how perfect they could be and like just how perfect I could be as a person. And when I was drawing, I was like, I remembered that either way this is still going to be published, and even if you go back and look at the little imperfections in the book, it goes to show that like it's still okay, because at the end of the day your work is out there and it's put out there.
Sitting still is near impossible with an anxious brain. The thoughts overflowing like bubbles in a bath don't allow me to enjoy this moment of self-care. It becomes self-sabotage. Now it's about what I'm not doing while I'm sitting still. Not moving, not working, not breathing. Now as I make a never-ending to-do list when I'm supposed to be sitting still. Maybe I'll write, or maybe I'll reflect. As much as I want to forget, the pain that I face comes completely from within. I wonder how I'll make it out if I can't connect in.
I remember when Dayna had first brought up the idea of like us being able to draw something. I was really excited. I love to like draw and like doodle just for fun. But the idea that like my work could be somewhere out for like the world to see, like that was really cool to me. And then I also remember that the minute Dayna had like sent that message of like, hey, would y'all be interested in drawing this? We were like looking through all the poems and like we were like, no, I want that one, and like claiming some as our own. And so like that was really fun to do. One of the ones that I ended up choosing to draw for is The Invisible War, and this one I chose to draw for it because it felt very vulnerable. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, like Dayna is someone who showed me how okay it is to be vulnerable. So I felt like very in tune to pick a poem that correlated with that vulnerability. And then similarly, this one, I'm also an overthinker, so just like kind of reading the poems sometimes like made me think of like, oh my god, is Dayna in my head right now? Because like it was so in tune with like the things that I would like feel. So it was really cool to like get the opportunity to draw for like also someone like that I really cared about and really inspired me, and just like be in collaboration with this person to like create something was really amazing.
Okay, so this is the Watch Me Rise exhibit, and the Watch Me Rise exhibit was really created out of Watch Me Rise, the poetry cookbook that takes different pieces of mental health poetry and combines them with bread recipes, really describing my own arc of recovery, kind of falling apart and then being able to bake and rise. So each one of these sections is broken down into a different bread baking step. So the first is assemble. And in this section of the exhibit, you get a little bag to collect the bread baking kit with as you'll get through the exhibit. And there's also select poems from the book here. And then in addition to the poems, there's different activities. So for example, the first poem is perception, and this is about how the way in which we see things affects the way we interact with the world. So for perception, there's a binder of different sayings, and each individual would take a little like flashlight and put it over the invisible ink of sayings to kind of better understand that things aren't always what they seem.
My favorite part of Dayna's exhibit was stress hives, the one with all the bees, to sort of reflect on best practices and to see other people's best practices for taking care of themselves. And I always try to remind myself that rest is productive, and I remind myself of that all the time, and reading some of other people's coping mechanisms for stress is helpful, and I'm pocketing those for later.
These feelings don't allow me to feel like I have much of an identity. I don't feel like I have really any motivation or will. And so I really wanted to create this part of the exhibit to explain that. One of my favorite activities and poems in this area of the exhibit is called Held Up, and it's about how I feel held up by my depression in a lot of ways. In this activity, you take a bead with you that's supposed to be grounding and help the participant or the patron in the future. And this is also where one gets a yeast packet for their bread baking kit.
the poems, Dayna's poems, strike right to my heart.
So the third section, and probably my favorite section of the Watch Me Rise exhibit, is the section called Need. And need really represents the part of mental health recovery where you're able to engage in healing through work and practice. My favorite poem in the section and my favorite activity in the exhibit is attached to a poem called An Ode to All Things Bad for Me. And this poem is about how difficult it can be for me to give things away as someone who feels emotions so deeply, even when giving that thing away is related to something negative or my own mental health challenges or mental illness. So in this exhibit, I created a box where people can write postcards to things that they want to say goodbye to in order to continue with their lives and in order to continue with their recovery. This is also the place where you get a little spoon to stir the mix of the ingredients you've received so far.
Do you feel inspired to take action for your own mental health and community after seeing this exhibit? 100%. I'm always sort of thinking about mental health, and actually last year we had a wellness day at the museum, and it's something I want to continue to work on, to not only for my own personal journey to continue to go to therapy and encourage other people, even if you think you're doing fine, everyone can benefit from it, but also in the museum offering mental health services or wellness days and exploring all different types of ways that people can take care of themselves in this space is something that I want to continue doing.
So Rise is the fourth and final section of the Watch Me Rise exhibit. And it's in this section where I really want to tell everyone that rising in recovery and rising in life and healing is possible. And for this section, I chose two poems in particular. One of them is called Scattered, and this poem is about how even when we don't feel like we necessarily belong in this world, we do. And a good reminder of that is decorating a puzzle piece that I'm going to put together someday to remind everyone that there is a space for them. Panic strikes out of nowhere, and yet I refrain from calling a friend. Learning to look inward for comfort is the hardest thing I've done in a long time. I'm scared. It will subside. It will subside.
Determined to grow the Bake It community worldwide, Dayna travels around the country speaking to students about mental health.
So my presentation today is at Northeastern University, which is where I got my undergrad degree in human services and my graduate degree in public health. So of course, anytime I get to come back to Northeastern, it's very special because I think I know the student really well because I was a student, and that feels really cool to me. I am nervous. I feel like I'm always nervous, regardless. And yeah, but I'm trying to get in the zone, so I'll do my best to do that. And what that usually looks like for me, I have all my ingredients prepared, I'm drinking my iced coffee, I'm breathing. I read recently if you move your eyes to the right and left, it makes you yawn, and that stimulates your vagus nerve, which calms you down. I don't know if I'm just yawning because it's in my head or not, but that's helping.
Yeah, I think as someone that does struggle with their mental health and related to what she was saying a lot, it was really empowering and inspiring to see her being so comfortable talking about it. As someone that's also in healthcare and is passionate about breaking the stigma and breaking the taboo about mental health, it was really empowering and again inspiring to see her talk about it so freely without really seeming to affect her so much. And it seems that she's grown so well and that she can share her story without getting triggered at all.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with what Dayna was talking about, how she felt like a pressure to sort of be in recovery when she was serving as an ambassador on her first college campus. So it was really nice to just hear someone come out and say on this kind of stage, the recovery process is definitely a journey. And while I always think I'm aware of that, it's definitely different to recognize that while you're actually in it. So it was really empowering to hear Dayna talk about every step of the process of recovery.
One thing that really helps me when I get nervous is I think about like the people who need to hear this message will be in the room. I know that sounds like very university, but I think that really helps me remember that like what I'm doing does have that purpose. So my hope is that people take away their own kind of understanding of the way mental health could show up for them, what it would look like for them. Also, maybe inspire them to bake it home and take what they learned here and share it. That's kind of my couple of my big takeaways. My favorite part of presenting comes like 10 minutes in because that seems to be when the nerves go away and it's just like magic. I just feel like I can look at everyone in the room and feel connected to them. I think that is my favorite, making the connections, building the connections, not only when I'm speaking, but afterwards. That's always so nice to get to connect with people who want to share their stories because of what they've heard from me. That's probably those 10 minutes and then the end are my favorite parts.
I definitely learned that there is no threshold to seek help. I think a lot of people worry about, oh, am I not okay enough to go be okay or try to go be okay? I think she really taught me to just wherever I'm at, it's okay to seek help.
I came into this with an open mind. I hadn't done on Dayna Altman because I just wanted to go with an open mind and just see what that was like. And I was really surprised and excited to see that she was using baking as a metaphor for everything. I thought that was really creative. So it was a great presentation.
Something I learned today is that it's a journey. I think that for me especially, I've had so many different diagnoses for mental health issues, and to this day I think it's evolving, but I've been blessed to seek the care that I've been given.
Although Dayna is confidently sharing her story, her own recovery is still a process.
TMS was suggested to me because I have been on the same medication for years, and anytime I have a depressive episode, we just continue increasing the medication because that's really worked for me. But it's been almost 12 years on this medication, and I'm hitting kind of the dosage that I can be on. So TMS was suggested to me as like a really great alternative.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gary Warstadt. I'm a psychiatrist at Southeastern Psychiatric Associates in Randolph, Massachusetts. We are a practice that's been doing transcranial magnetic stimulation, often known as TMS, since 2016. We were the first practice in the South Shore area to be doing TMS, and we've done probably more patients than any other practice in the area, a couple of hundred so far. We've been getting excellent results with TMS. TMS is a treatment for people with major depression, which is a serious form of depression, which involves changes in appetite, energy, interest, motivation, socialization, sleep, energy, suicidal thoughts, etc. It's not just being a little bit sad.
Walking into it, I was excited because I wanted to learn and just be proactive with my depression, because I know when I'm in a depressive episode, it's really hard to be proactive. But there were definitely some nerves because it's something to me feels so new, but I learned in the appointment that it's actually, the research started in like 1995 and has been FDA approved for a really long time. But because people don't talk about it, like I didn't realize that it's kind of normalized.
It helps a substantial number of people, not everybody. The statistics say that about 60% of people who do TMS show a substantial response. We do these rating scales. If they show a 50% improvement in their rating scale, it's considered to be a response. And then of that 60%, about half of them get all better. In other words, they're not showing any signs of being depressed anymore.
Using medication for me has been such a journey. I think it is for everyone, or I guess I can't speak for everyone, but I think a lot of people feel similarly. It's really hard to find a medication and start a new one and feel like excited and hopeful and then not have it do anything or create side effects. I think at first I was really anti-medication because I don't know. I feel like there's such a stigma around using medication for your mental health. And for that reason, I was scared. I thought it was like a weakness in a way. But now that I've been on the same meds for so long, I feel like I'll be on them forever. And I'm not ashamed of that because I think that it allows me to participate in my life, participate in treatment. It allows me to be a person, and I'm not ashamed, but at the same time there's a lot of complications to finding the right meds and staying on the right meds.
Right now, we're getting really good results that are as good as medications or better than medications, particularly for people that have already failed several medication trials. Once you've already demonstrated that you're not a good candidate for taking medications, TMS is actually a better form of treatment for you. It's more likely to help than yet another medication trial, and strengthening that part of the brain so that it can resist the depression.
So I really, like, I'm genuinely saying this, like, I really loved that doctor. He was so nice and thorough and like really made me feel comfortable, as did everyone at that practice. So I'm a little sad because he said that I am a great candidate for TMS, or I'm a great candidate for deep TMS, which it targets both the depression and the OCD. And they don't have the machine at that practice. So they gave me a different place I could call also nearby, to kind of learn a little bit more about the machine that targets both sides of your brain at the same time. And I really want to go to that one because they're so nice and welcoming, but I also feel like it's worth exploring what deep TMS could do for me.
Where do you see Bake It Till You Make It going in the future?
I think that it is going to continue to expand. Dayna's going to continue to travel and touch more lives and people. I think that this documentary is going to reach a lot of people, and just with the way that mental health is starting to become more of a conversation, I think that Dayna's story will be a part of that.
I mean, I think that I don't think it has limits on what I hope for Bake It Till You Make It. I just hope that Dayna continues, or Bake It Till You Make It, they continue to be able to share authentically with others and be able to encourage others to show up as their authentic selves as well, because I think that that's like the really the premise, the core foundation of Bake It Till You Make It is truly showing up as you are, who you are, and being able to love that and accept that and know that you've got your village around you no matter what. And so I hope that, you know, through this hard work that Dayna does every single day, I hope that she continues to reach more and more people, because I think that the more people who are able to connect and feel less alone, you know, the better. And that's what Dayna is doing.
You know, so part of me thinks like 10 years from now, Bake It Till You Make It might just be thought of as some small little step on Dayna's march to world dominance. I don't know. She's a pretty amazing kid.
I hope that it just continues to reach more and more people and spread the information and the knowledge that mental health is not something to shy away from. It's not something to be ashamed of. We all go through things and we all need a little extra help here and there. So if we can continue to reach people through this medium and mediums that we might choose to explore in the future, like, that would be great. That's my goal.
She's amazing, but I am so happy for her that she's been able to create this organization, number one, and then take it up to the level that she's taken it to, going to the White House, and now she's speaking. And I think that she just inspires everyone she comes in contact with. And I'm just, she's really changing the world. And I think it's just going to continue to grow.
I hope that she just continues to have like a larger scale and able to touch more people. I know my sister always says like if she can just make an impact on one person, it's worth it, but I think that she can make an impact on millions of people. So I just really hope that she's able to continue to speak to more schools at every age, because I think everybody should be talking about mental health so they never have to feel like they're alone or feel like they can't seek help.
Yeah, I mean, I think my hope is that there'll be a lot more speaking opportunities for Bake It Till You Make It. I think, but for me, I think Bake It Till Make It is really kind of the Dayna Altman brand. So whatever Dayna comes up with, I think we're all kind of along for the ride.
Food heals. Food connects. Food is the way in which I've chosen to talk about my mental health. As I look toward the future, I see the creation of more books, workshops, and new ways to engage people of all ages and walks of life to speak openly about their mental health. From the kitchen to the screen to maybe even the Broadway stage, I see more art, more events, more opportunities for the community, and ultimately more hope. I know it's likely for me to continue to fall down again, but I don't see these struggles as weaknesses or deficits. It's these struggles that have allowed me to create something that connects and that heals. My recovery is unfolding. The future of Bake It Till You Make It is unfolding, and I can't wait for what's ahead. But for now, I'll be dreaming, working, and baking toward a future I'm proud of, with love and sprinkles on everything.